Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season, because between the pregame rituals and the postgame interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes, because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop, because you earn cash back at over 3,500 stores. Fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, concert tickets, and more. Your favorite stores like Lowe's, Levi's, and Nike pay Rakuten to send them shoppers. And Rakuten then passes on a part of that payment to its members as cash back. You're already shopping at your favorite stores. Why not save while you're doing it? It's a no-brainer. Membership is free and easy to sign up. Get the Rakuten app now and join the 17 million members who are already saving. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. That's Rakuten. Your cash back really adds up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 98 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it.
98 episodes, huh?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
We are closing in on the hundo.
I remember sitting at Freddy's hamburger joint 98 episodes ago. And talking about, hey, maybe we ought to do a spin-off of TCAT with Unsolved.
Sure.
And I remember going back to work and came to your house like a day later or something, and you're like, here's the logo. You ready?
Let's start researching and record an episode.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I know we were just talking about maybe when we were ready, this is what we were going to do. But, you know, like you just go full steam ahead.
Well, I took that as you were ready.
Well, I had no choice. I was
at that point, you were pot committed. So.
Yeah, I was still like, can I get a chair that doesn't have wood on it?
Oh, my gosh. Here we go.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
But it is amazing when you think about it. 200 plus episodes combined between True Crime All the Time and True Crime All the Time Unsolved.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work that went into that the past
it has been
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Now, 98. So in a couple of weeks, we got the big hundo.
We do, man.
And on True Crime All the Time, we went
Big Ed
Kemper. I am thinking, I don't want to be held to this, but I'm thinking about going with the West Memphis 3.
Yeah.
It's a huge case. It's one that's always been, for me, at the top of my list of fascinating cases.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know it would span a few episodes. I really don't know how long it would take to tell that whole story.
Well, minimum 2.
But I think it would
3.
be good. So that's what I'm leaning towards right now.
Yeah.
We'll see.
See what happens. But that's coming up 2 more weeks, man. 100.
Yeah. I got to make that decision really quickly.
I was just thinking, you know, how fast that grew. And, you know, we started doing Patreon only episodes too.
Sure.
I think we're up to like 7 on that now. And you can just see how fast that will probably grow too. And good episodes on that, on the Patreon only.
Well, we got a lot of great feedback last week's Patreon only episode on Doug Feldman.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of new Patreon support. And I think that's part of it, because people are, you know, signing up. They want to, you know, hear more content, and that's a way to get more content. But we had a lot of new support. We had K Peak.
Hey, K.
Amanda Scruggs.
Thanks, Amanda.
Big on social media.
Sure is.
Caitlin Ray.
Hey, Caitlin.
Chelsea Sampson.
Hey, Chelsea.
Sonora Jelks.
The Senora.
What was that?
I said Senora. Senora.
You were somewhere between her actual name and the Spanish word senora.
I know.
But it fell kind of somewhere in between there.
Sometimes people think I drink, but I don't.
No, it's just
It's
Gibby.
just me, and it's been a long day.
It's just a shot of Gibby.
It's
Is
a
all
shot.
it is.
That's right.
We had Mike,
Hey, Mike.
Joan Elton,
Hey, Joan.
Kathleen Ritchie,
Oh, thank you, Richie.
Mitch Lonis.
Hey, Mitch. We know Mitch.
Yep, he's
and his
been
daughters.
he's been a Patreon member, but he jumped up to our highest level.
Awesome.
We appreciate that. Critical Onions,
It's a good band.
Ivy Lee,
Hey, Ivy.
Brendan McLaughlin,
Wood McLaughlin.
Randy Biard,
Biard.
Maximiliano Encinas.
Ooh, Maximiliano Zaxines.
One of the coolest names I think we've ever had.
He's on all VIP list.
He jumped up to our highest level, followed by a name that I'm still trying to figure out, which is Apple Fatty. Don't know what that means.
You know what? You don't need to worry.
I really don't need
If you're
to
an Apple
know.
fatty, you got it made.
Emma Bow,
Hey, Emma.
Crystal Carey,
Thank you, Crystal.
Amy Frost,
Hey, Amy.
Stephanie Nakasone.
Nakasomi. Reminds me of that movie with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that was Nakatomi.
Yeah.
Nakatomi Towers.
Yeah.
Okay. Sierra Corbett.
Hey, Sierran.
And you say that movie like you can't say Die Hard, one of the biggest movies.
Yeah, one of those franchises.
Yeah, it reminds me of that movie with Bruce
The
Willis.
Sears battery thing. Yeah.
He cracked me up. Nia Moore.
Hey, Nia.
Whitney.
Just Whitney.
Just Whitney.
Well, with a name like that. Hope she's got the lungs to go with it.
Lindsay Nielsen.
Lindsay.
Jerry Mingori.
Hey, thanks, Jerry.
Sarah Mudd.
Your name's Mud.
Yeah. And we talked about the history of that saying on our little mini Patreon
We did.
episode that we do every week. Natalie Sitzler
Hey, Natalie.
and Mala Villarreal.
Ooh, Willie the Ride.
Yeah, love
Thank
that
you.
name. And if we go back into the vault, Gibbs,
Do it.
this week we selected Drea Ronell.
Hey, Drea.
Great supporter, been with us a long time
Really appreciate it.
on Patreon. We had great PayPal support as well. Alison Thompson,
Hey, Allison.
Jennifer Gunnan,
Jennifer.
Deborah Pfeiffer.
Thank you.
Jennifer Pfeiffer.
What is that?
Like Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah. Or what's that movie with, I'm thinking of the Fockers. Not even related.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even related. It's not even in the same
Category?
universe.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, Falker,
Who's next on the list?
Jennifer Murray,
Thanks, Jennifer.
Karen Washington,
Hey, Karen.
and Jennifer Warmoth.
Oh, Jennifer. Thank you.
So a lot of great support. We appreciate that.
We do.
We always do.
All of you.
So right now on True Crime All the Time,
Yeah.
got what I think is a very, very interesting episode on Joseph Naso. Not really a big name,
No.
but when you get into this guy, a serial predator,
It really is.
committed sexual assaults, committed murders over a span of what was really 40 to 50 years.
Yeah. Well, how old was he, Mike, when he finally got caught?
76 years
Yeah.
old.
Talking about getting lucky that he got caught. 76. I mean, that's a heck of a run.
Well, and I think you said it in the episode. He almost made it.
He almost did.
He almost got away by either
Unbelievable.
outliving, if you want to say that, the police.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They got him. But his story is fascinating. So make sure you check that out.
Hey, how about CrimeCon?
Yeah, CrimeCon's coming up. If you're ordering your badges on the CrimeCon website, make sure you use our promo code CrimeAllTheTime19.
Yeah.
I think you get 10% off your standard badge price if you use our code.
It's a good deal.
And we appreciate it. We can't wait to meet new fans that we've never met. We can't wait to see people that we've met at crime cons in prior years.
It's always neat to see, the friends that we've made over
It
the
is.
years. And like you said, can't wait. And just message me and I'll give you Mike's room number. You can just go knock on his door anytime and go talk to him.
You'll have like 40 people just intermittently knock on my door while I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Gibbs, you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
Yeah, let's do it.
We are talking about the disappearance of Monique Daniels. And this is one of those cases, right? We're saying it's a disappearance. We're not saying it's a murder. We don't know.
We don't know.
And there's a lot of mystery surrounding this case, all of which we're going to get into. But let's start off with Monique. Monique Christine Daniels was born on June 16th, 1976. She was born in the town of Moore, Oklahoma. And we've been to Moore, Oklahoma before. Not literally.
No.
But in one of our podcast episodes.
Sure have.
On True Crime All the Time, Alton Nolan, when he went on that rampage at his previous employer, I think it was a previous employer. He just got terminated. Yeah. It's been so long ago, but that was in Moore, Oklahoma. Monique was a beautiful young girl, and she had dreams. She dreamed of being a doctor. She dreamed of building a family of her own. She wanted to have a loving family, kids, a husband, the whole thing.
Sure.
Her friends said that, she was the type of person that always put others first. And she was a lot of fun to be around. But Monique had a rough go of it as a young child.
She did.
She was abused by her biological father.
Now, he did serve some time.
He did, for sexual offenses.
Yeah.
But by 1992, early 1992, she was living with her mother, Candace Daniels, and her stepfather, Charles Chuck Daniels. So her mother had remarried. Christine is 15 years old, getting ready to turn 16 at this time period. She had 3 siblings that she lived with and 2 half siblings that her mother and stepfather had.
So it's a pretty full house.
That's a big family.
Yeah, that's a lot of people sitting around the dinner table.
Well, and she was the oldest. So when you think of, 2 parents, 6 kids, the oldest is 15 years old. There's a lot going on in that span there.
It's like 8 is enough, but counting the parents.
Okay, I like the math there.
Yeah.
I was thinking more like Brady Bunch.
That's another good reference. Yeah, but that's when he brings in his 3 boys. She brings in her 3 girls, and that's how we get the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, so it is different.
Yeah, and you have Alice.
That's true.
Everybody.
And Sam the Butcher. Don't forget Sam the Butcher.
Yeah, but everybody would love to have an Alice with a big family like that. Someone that's cooking and cleaning all the time. I mean.
Yeah, so the difference here is Candace and Chuck, they had 2 children of their own. Chuck didn't bring any children to the marriage. Candace brought 4. They ended up with 6. But like you said, Gibbs, pretty full house. Monique's stepdad, Chuck, was a sergeant in the Air Force.
So that could be anywhere from, like a E5 to E9, depending on what type of sergeant he was, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, there's so many different levels of
I've
sergeants.
Never been in the military, so I don't know what all the different E's and rankings and...
Yeah, well, it all depends on what that type of sergeant. If you're master sergeant, you're way up on the high list. If you're just a sergeant, you're down on the lower of the E's.
Okay.
Like E5.
We're learning a lot from you.
And there's some stuff in between. So I'd be a commander.
You'd be going commando.
Commando.
But Candace was also in the military.
So military family.
Military family.
Ran the household like a military family.
That's the important part. It has been said by a lot of people that knew this family that it was run like that. Things were extremely strict. And that caused some friction sometimes, which it always does when you're trying to hold your kids accountable, be strict with them at times when you feel like you need to be. They're going to buck against you, as kids do.
Yeah. You're going to have some arguments. You're going to, you can go extreme and be like a mommy dearest and get out the wire hangers.
That's too extreme.
That's too extreme.
Too extreme.
Okay. Or you can be like Mike Brady and call them into the den and sit down with them and talk.
Explain what they did wrong.
Yeah. And say, let's not do that again.
So Monique Daniels was known as Nikki to her close friends. And I mentioned at the time that she disappeared, this is in 1992, she was 15 years old, about ready to turn 16. She was 5'4", weighed about 125 pounds.
Yeah, small girl.
She had blonde hair, blue eyes. And I think it's important to talk about some distinguishing features.
Sure.
That Monique had. She had some scars that were pretty visible. And I think it's important in a case like this to point that out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And she had one on her left ankle that was like a half moon. That's a pretty distinctive scar.
It is. She also had a 3-inch scar on her right shin, which is a pretty good size scar.
Yeah.
She had a mole on her upper left side of her lip.
And when she wore her glasses, they were blue wired frame glasses.
At the time she disappeared, Monique was wearing a men's green army jacket, and she wore a men's diamond ring. And it was big.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a men's size.
They said she had to tape it on to keep it from falling off. And I always think about, when we were in high school, you'd give your girlfriend at the time your class ring. It was always big.
They'd have to wrap like
yarn around it to keep it from, sliding off or whatever. I know that, the girl you dated, you had to do that to the ring she gave you. Her hand was that much bigger than yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But it does seem strange to hear about taping a ring. Now, maybe she ran the tape around the underside.
Maybe that's what she did.
As you would wrap
like a yarn,
string or yarn or whatever it was. Yeah. But it, in a lot of the articles that you and I looked at, it did say taped on.
Yeah.
Which sounds very strange to me.
It sounds like it was actually taped to the finger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about June 2nd, 1992, this was the day that Monique was last seen. And that sighting was by a neighbor in her hometown of Moore, Oklahoma. This neighbor said that Monique was loading some clothes into a blue Chevy pickup truck. Driving the truck was a white male that the neighbor didn't recognize, didn't know who it was, but that was the last time she was seen.
Yeah, never since.
By anyone. Now, one thing that's important is at this time that she disappeared, some of her family was not at home. So her mom and 2 of her siblings, Angelique and Brian, they were off touring with a church choir group.
Yeah, they were out singing at different venues with the group and, enjoying that week, doing what they like to do. And unfortunately, when the 3 of them did return home, the first thing they run into is the stepdad. And he just basically says, she's gone again. She's gone again.
Meaning Monique is gone, but it's the again word that stands out here. Clearly, Gibbs, that denotes a history on Monique's part of running away.
Yeah, absolutely.
To say she's gone again means this is something that's happened at least once, maybe multiple times before.
It's like the dog gets out,
The other thing worth mentioning is something that her sister has said. We talked about this, a military family. We talked about that it was run in a military-like fashion. They were very strict. The other piece of that puzzle is the house was kept in a neat and orderly fashion, much like you would keep your footlocker, your sheets, the way that you're supposed to keep your uniform, right? All of this being in the military. But apparently, Monique's sister said that on the day they came back, the house was a mess. There were beer cans everywhere, cigarette butts scattered around, and there was also a home pregnancy test box sitting on the bathroom counter.
Just laying out.
So first of all, this messy house is very out of the ordinary, according to Monique's sister. And then you have the home pregnancy test box. And this is important because it's been said that the last time Monique ran away was after she got pregnant.
Yeah, she was really upset because her parents forced her to get an abortion and she didn't take it well. She wanted to keep the baby. So after that, she ran off to show her displeasure with what they made her do.
And I don't think that was the only time before that she had run off.
No, she's had a history. In that short period of time she's lived with them.
She did have a history of running away. But each time she did, her best friend would talk her into coming home.
Yeah. You know, you don't really want to be away. You want to come back home. It'll be all right. We'll get through it.
You know, it's a kid being defiant, like you said, showing their displeasure. But I think because of this history that she had of taking off from time to time, Monique's mom and stepdad didn't report her missing. They didn't file a missing persons report. They didn't contact police, according to them, because she had run away before, and they thought this was just another
here she goes again
moment. The problem is going to be that this is going to go on for quite a while. So you fast forward to January of 1993. So we're about 7 months later. Monique's aunt, her mom's sister, called the local police. She wanted to know what the heck was going on. And she wanted to get some information from them so that she could make sure to pass it on to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. She wanted to make sure it was in their database.
Yeah.
Everybody knew about it.
She's thinking, why haven't we found Monique?
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can to help. So let me get this on the database. Let's make sure everybody's got it. But then she finds out when she talks to the police. What are you talking about? We don't have a missing report.
They don't even know what she's talking about.
Yeah. Who's Monique?
This is the point where the aunt discovers that the parents not only didn't report her missing in the beginning because they thought she had simply run away and would come back. We're 7 months down the road and they still have not contacted police. They've not reported her missing.
Just amazing to me.
It blows my mind.
Because even if you thought she really ran away, I still would report it because you don't know, unless you know 100% for sure, that little bit of doubt, it's your kid, man.
Well, what do you mean? If you know 100% for sure what? That she's run away?
Yeah.
I would still report it. She's 15 years old.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, if she's like, hey, Mom, I'm at Aunt Lisa's. I ran away.
I see what you're saying.
You know?
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, well, at least I know where you're at. We'll deal with it that way.
I got you.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, she's 15 years old. To me, it's inexcusable. I get waiting. Well, I don't even know if I get that, but I guess I can see it from their point of view. She's run away before. She's come back in a day or two, whatever it was.
Yeah, but 7 months.
7 months it's inexcusable. Actually, much less time is inexcusable, but we'll go with the 7 months.
Yeah. And it's worse than that.
Oh, it does. It gets worse than that. So Candace, the mom, it's her sister that called police, and they're talking on the phone, and her sister is understandably upset and asking her questions. What the hell's going on? Why haven't you filed a missing person report? And Candace says to her sister Leslie, the aunt, that Monique called the family 2 days after she left. She said she was fine. She said she was safe, and they were good with that.
As a parent, I wouldn't even be okay with that.
Legally, Gibbs, you can't be okay with that.
No.
Because you're in charge of a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old can't be on their own. You're on the hook, right, legally, for making sure that your child's okay.
Sure. You're responsible for her welfare.
Yeah. Which means you are required, I would think, by law to do everything possible, the first step being to contact the police. But they don't do this. They basically say, you know what? She called, said she was okay.
We believe her.
We're not worried.
Yeah.
End of story. So that's the first communication that the family says they received from Monique. There would be 2 more communications in the forms of letters. They received a letter from Monique that was postmarked from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, just about a week after the aunt called.
Right. So the timing is a little suspicious. Somebody calls, they make a fuss because they can't understand why you're acting the way you're acting. Mysteriously, a week later, you get a letter.
Yeah.
And it's from Monique saying that she's happy, everything's great, and oh, by the way, she's married.
Yeah. I'm 15 and I'm married. Well, she'd be 16 at this point.
Yeah, she would be 16 by this time.
But I'm married. But then it gets even more interesting, right? Because they get the second letter in September of 93. But this time, I had a baby, a daughter named Chelsea. So now we're a happy family. I got my happy family. And by the way, we're moving to Alaska. And my husband travels a lot for his job. This is what she's putting into the letter. One, I think it's a little shock value, but yeah, don't worry about me. Previous letter, I'm married. Now I've got a family because I got a daughter named Chelsea. And by the way, don't be coming looking for me because we're going to move to Alaska. And I don't know what's going to go on with my husband. He won't be around a lot because he's traveling. I don't know.
Hinky.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm calling it hinky.
Yeah.
This letter to Gibbs was also postmarked from Dallas. And that's a big deal. We're going to talk about why that's a big deal later on. But they received these 2 letters. And then after that, nothing. No communication from Monique. They don't hear from her ever again.
They don't write her back either. Maybe they could. Maybe there's no return address, but there's no mentioning of anybody writing back to her.
Or trying to communicate in any way. All right, Gibbs, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp. Let's face it, there's a lot of us out there that have something that's interfering with our happiness or preventing us from achieving our goals. BetterHelp Online Counseling can help. They have licensed professional counselors who are specialized in issues like depression, anxiety, family conflict, grief, and so much more. You can connect with a professional counselor in a safe and private online environment, and you can do it at your own time and your own pace. And if for some reason you're not happy with your counselor, you can request a new one at any time, no additional charge. Best of all, it's a truly affordable option. True Crime All the Time Unsolved listeners get 10% off your first month with the discount code TCAT. So why not get started today? Go to betterhelp.com/TCAT. Then simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you will love. That's betterhelp.com/TCAT. Understandably, the Aunt Leslie was very suspicious. She was suspicious of the call. She was suspicious of the letters. And she wasn't going to sit idly by. She called the police and said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but something's not right with my niece. She wanted them to get involved. She also suggested that they run analysis on the handwriting from the letters.
Because it did sound suspicious.
Because she was suspicious. She wanted to see if they could tell if these letters were really written by Monique. So the police agreed to this. They're going to have a handwriting expert take a look at these letters. Candace and Chuck are going to turn them over. But just a day before they are scheduled to turn them over, and the handwriting analyst is going to look at them, their house is burglarized. So furniture tipped over. There were some things missing, CDs, electronics, but the letters were stolen.
Somebody also made sure they took the 2 letters.
Very valuable. In any robbery, it's jewelry first.
Yeah.
Coins, things like that. But then you automatically should
always
go
for
to
letters.
Yeah. Because there's going to be something of value. And obviously I'm joking. It's ridiculous to think that a burglar would steal 2 letters.
This
makes no sense.
No sense at all.
Number one, why? What would they do with them? Who would want them? But as you're asking those questions, I think most people are going to think there's really only one
logical scenario.
Yeah. And it's that the people involved that have the letters do not want them to be analyzed. And to me, there's really only one reason why they wouldn't want them to be analyzed, because they know that it's going to come back that this is not Monique's handwriting.
Yeah.
I don't know how many other logical conclusions you can make. I really don't. Monique's stepdad, Chuck, in talking to authorities, he made some very strange comments over, the period of time since Monique went missing. Well, it really wasn't the whole period, because the police didn't get involved till pretty late in the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he said things like, the house was better off. Things around the house were better.
More tranquil.
Yeah, peaceful since Monique left. Well, he used the word left. Depending on how you're going to view this case
Right.
as it unfolds, you will either think that Monique left on her own accord or she didn't.
Or she didn't.
But the other person in this case that has had a lot to say is Monique's sister, Angelique. And we're going to talk about her quite a bit.
Sure. Yeah, she's very vocal about this.
She spoke to reporters at one point, said that her mother and stepdad basically tried to erase anything related to Monique from the house. It was like they were trying to cleanse it completely of her memory.
Yeah, they didn't want any remembrance.
Yeah, and which is very strange.
I find it really strange. I mean, I can understand if it was always going to constantly bring up sorrow,
Sure.
but it's still your daughter, so you never want to let go. You might want to try to limit your recall, I guess.
Well, I think I understand what you're getting at. I don't think you get rid of everything that has to do with your child. I think maybe what people do, I think there's a lot of people that put it front and center. There might be some people that try to put it in one room.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to see it every second of the day.
But they can see it when they want to.
Yes, on when they're up to it certain times a day. But I don't think any parent gets rid of their child's things in a situation where their child is missing.
Right.
I can't see that happening in any situation.
And I think one of the things that was said that they thought was strange too was Angelique said that they went out and took new family photos and replaced all the photos, the other family photos that had Monique in it, with those. I don't know. I find that strange.
So it's suspicious. It's strange and it's suspicious at the same time. The other thing is apparently they didn't talk about her, and they didn't want any of the kids talking about Monique. Basically, the subject of Monique became so taboo in that house that she was never mentioned, ever. But I mentioned police got into this late in the game, but they did investigate a number of different tips and leads regarding Monique's disappearance. They had some come in that said she was a victim of foul play. One in particular, one of these tips said Monique was buried under the patio of the family home. So I think it's obvious, Gibbs, from what we said about Angelique. She was not happy inside of that home. She didn't like what was going on. She didn't think her mom and stepdad were handling everything correctly. And in January of 1994, she took off, ran away from home, took a bus to Michigan to live with her aunt. But when this happened, Candace and Chuck reported her as a missing person to police right away. But Angelique didn't want to come back, and she took it many steps further. She talked to police, told them where she was, but she also filed criminal charges against her mom and her stepdad.
She stated physical and mental abuse
in her criminal complaint.
Sure. And actually, the parents pleaded no contest to this charge.
So they pleaded no contest to child abuse and neglect, which I think tells you something. I'm not sure what it tells you, but normally when you plead no contest, it means
there's some level
I did whatever it is you're saying I did.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. They didn't serve any time. And we know from cases that we research, there are times that people plead no contest.
Yeah.
When they know they're not going to serve time.
Sure. Just
as opposed to pleading not guilty, either having to hire an attorney or take your chances in front of a jury. You know, if they were told ahead of time.
Yeah, plead no contest, you won't serve no time.
So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure,
it could have been that.
Yeah.
But regardless of the reason why, they did plead that way. And Angelique stayed with her aunt. She didn't come home.
Nope.
And would never come home. But this is where the story starts to get very interesting.
I agree.
Because Angelique starts to spill secrets. And one of the first things that she tells is that the letters that they supposedly received from Monique did not come from Monique at all.
Shocker.
Shocker. We alluded to it. Why would the letters mysteriously disappear? Well, this is the reason why. Angelique says that her stepfather made her write the letters, posing as if she was Monique. But then he took the letters and drove a couple of 100 miles to Dallas, Texas, and mailed them. Angelique told authorities, Chuck took me to the grocery store and picked out the stationery to write the letters on. He told me exactly what to write. I felt very threatened by him. I felt very afraid.
So even the call that occurred days after she went missing was a fabrication too.
It was made up.
It made up, never occurred. It was just another part of the story.
Now, the way that Angelique explains this is that her stepfather convinced her that her mother was distraught over Monique's disappearance, and that telling her about the phone call, writing the letters so that she thought Monique was okay, was going to be the best thing for her. I think Angelique thought that Chuck was under the impression her mom was suicidal, would harm herself, and this was a way to keep that from happening. So this is what Angelique's saying. Chuck told her, your mom's upset. This is the best way to reassure her that Monique is okay. It will be good for her. But also, according to Angelique, Chuck told her that she would face jail time if she ever told the truth.
Yeah, well, he's trying to put the fear into her, right?
Yeah. He doesn't want this to come out. And her role in this is something that would bother Angelique for many years. Later she would come out and say, it has brought so much sadness to me on a daily basis and guilt for participating in the cover-up, even though I was a kid and I didn't know. And I can see both of those things, Gibbs. Number one, she was a kid. She was being directed and coerced to do something by her adult stepdad.
Well, yeah, think about this. That at the time, Monique was 16, right? 15, going on 16.
Mm-hmm.
So we know Angelique was younger.
But even though she was young, Gibbs, I don't think it would stop the guilt from seeping in later on. She was too young to take that on.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't think you can keep it out. Regardless of how young you are or were at the time, that guilt's going to seep in. Why did I do that?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Why did I participate in what she calls this cover-up? And it really is kind of a duplicitous act. So Angelique tells police this. Obviously, they're going to question Chuck. And when they do, he admits to the whole thing. Yes, she wrote the letters. Yes, I told her what to say. I drove to Dallas, Texas, and mailed them from there. But this is why I did it.
Sure.
My wife was in pain. I wanted to ease her suffering.
Give her comfort.
Give her comfort by making her think her daughter was okay. The question is going to be, as we go through this, do you believe him or not? To me, that's going to be the question. This is the question I have.
So knowing all this, the mom went ahead and filed a missing person report in January of 94.
It was at this point that the police asked both Candace and Chuck if they would take a voluntary polygraph test, but they both declined. They also cut off any further communication with police.
Well, they're using their constitutional right. They're not being charged with anything. Sure. So they said, look.
They don't have to talk.
Nope, we're not going to talk anymore.
But we go back to Monique's aunt, Leslie. She became very frustrated with police. She didn't have much faith that they would ever find Monique, so she hired a psychic to help out. She actually hired 3, but one in particular told Leslie that Monique had been strangled and dumped near Shawnee. Leslie went to Oklahoma, and with the psychic, they scoured an area where the psychic believed Monique was buried. This was a location about 25 miles east of Tinker Air Force Base. It was near an active oil pump, and the psychic was very specific. And if you believe some of the things that have been said, what this psychic said was also backed up by at least one other psychic. Again, Gibbs, I've talked about psychics before. I don't know how I feel about all that, but this is what was reported. And it was that at this spot, they would find like a pile of debris, and Monique was under this pile of debris. So they went searching, and they actually came to the spot where the psychic felt she was. But in the research, that's where things got a little strange for me, because this was reported in the paper. But the way it was reported was that once they got there, Leslie couldn't do it. She couldn't follow through with, pulling up boards or whatever it was that would lead her to the place where the psychic said Monique was. She just couldn't do it.
Freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you want to know, and then maybe at a certain point when you're right at the precipice, you don't want to know.
No, if you're at the precipice.
Because it can only be bad.
Sure, yeah.
At that point.
There's no turning back.
No.
And if you had hopes that maybe she's still alive, that she did run away, did she?
Sure.
Right. I think you kind of want to hold on to that maybe than actually pick up a board and find something underneath it.
Yeah, well, because if she's where this psychic says she is, she's not alive.
Exactly.
And I think that's when she got to that point, she realized whether she's there or not, but if she is, she's going to be dead.
Yeah.
But I think the psychic angle to me is always fascinating. I just don't know how much I believe in all of that, but
you're not going to isolate us from psychics too now, are you?
No.
Okay.
No, the bottom line is they didn't find Monique.
Yeah.
But in the research, it kind of made it sound like they looked and looked, but once they got to the place where the psychic really thought she was, Leslie couldn't move forward with the finality of it. That's what I took from the article.
But then you wonder if anybody ever went and looked anyway in all this time.
I don't know. Gibbs, we talked about how the house was run in a very strict manner. Almost military-like is the way it's been described.
Yeah.
But I think some have said that Candace and Chuck were more strict with Monique than the other kids.
Some parents can be that way with the oldest.
Sure. I think Angelique was one that said that. We know Angelique had some problems with her mom and stepdad, but one of Monique's brothers, Andrew, had his own issues. He would later allege that he too was a victim of child abuse inside that house. And Andrew has had some things to say about the day that Monique went missing that I think we have to touch on. He has said that on that day, Chuck and Monique got into a fight. Chuck was extremely upset, and he made the decision that he was going to leave the house, and he was going to take the boys with him and go fishing. Andrew said that Chuck told them all, the boys, to say goodbye to Monique, and they left on this fishing trip. But Andrew has said that Chuck only allowed the boys to say goodbye through a small crack in the door of Monique's bedroom. Andrew also said that when he looked through the crack of the door, Monique wasn't moving. She was sitting on the floor with her back up against the foot of the bed. She had her legs crossed, but she was very still, and she didn't respond when he called out to her. But the younger brother, Charles, has a conflicting story because he said that he actually hugged Monique goodbye that day, and that she said she couldn't join them fishing, but she wished she could have.
Now, Andrew would also say that when they left the house to go fishing in the rain, and I don't know about you, when I used to fish, I didn't really fish in the rain a lot. You didn't have a lot of luck when it rained.
I like to fish in the rain.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
No, I do.
You do?
I fish now.
Yeah.
So I do things now. I'm not an in the past guy.
You're not, you're living in the moment.
No, I fish. I actually fish a lot, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I fish a lot in the rain. But if I'm out and it starts raining, I don't mind it because I actually have a lot of luck.
Do you? That's good because I typically don't. So I like to fish right after it rains when they come back up to the surface and stuff like that. Yeah. But anyway, Andrew would say that they left to go fishing, but they didn't take the fishing poles.
Hard to go fishing without your fishing poles.
It makes it difficult for sure, unless you're a fish whisperer and call them up to the surface and they jump right into your bucket. Andrew said they drove 2 hours nonstop and then got to a McDonald's restaurant, ate, and then turned around and drove home. So basically, what is 4.5 hours round trip?
Yeah, 2 hours drive time, half hour to eat. That sounds about right.
Didn't even fish. So once they got home, they pulled into the garage, and Chuck told them to wait inside the truck, and he'd be back. Andrew said the dad went inside the house, and he was in there for about an hour before he returned to the truck. That's a long time to leave your kids in the truck, Mike, I mean, well, my kids wouldn't sit there and wait.
No,
They'd be knocking on the garage door. What are you doing? We want in the house. We don't want to sit out here anymore.
That's if they didn't just hotwire it and take off and go somewhere.
They just take it, yeah.
So I want to make sure we lay this out. This is what Andrew has said over the years.
Yes.
This is his account of what happened that day.
Yes.
But eventually Chuck does come back out to the truck and he lets the boys in the house. But he directs them to his bedroom where he proceeds to lock them in for what was said, Gibbs, to be 2 days.
2 long days, man. That's a long time to put boys in one room and lock them in. I can tell you this. If that was me and my brothers,
You'd have found a way out.
we would have got out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, what was said was that Chuck indicated he was going to go look for Monique. It's been reported that one of the other brothers recalled seeing a big oil drum in the back of Chuck's truck. So Gibbs, Candace and Chuck didn't stay in Oklahoma that long. After Monique's disappearance, it really wasn't that long after Angelique went to her aunt's house. Because once she told her aunt about the letters, that all of that wasn't true, they started to hit the TV shows, A Current Affair, all those different news kind of quasi news shows that were out. And it was around that time that Chuck got transferred to Germany. So he and Candace went to Germany for about 10 years.
Yeah, and they eventually moved back to the U.S. and reside in Florida.
But they refused to make any statements. Now, to be fair, they haven't been named as suspects in this case. But in 2002, 10 years after Monique disappeared, police had what they thought was a possible break in the case. Geophysics students from the University of Oklahoma, along with their professor, they wanted to test the patio area of the Daniels' old home, right? This had been a suspicion. We talked about it earlier in the episode that Monique was buried underneath the patio. So they used ground penetrating radar. They used electromagnetic induction to study the ground beneath the patio. What they saw in the data led them to believe that there was a body buried down there. So they called police, and everybody involved was convinced that they needed to excavate this area to see if there was a body there. It was reported that it was about a 6 foot by 3 foot area, but no body was unearthed and no evidence of Monique or what happened to her was uncovered. I guess Gibbs, really the only thing it did was rule out a suspicion that had been floating around the town for many years.
Sure, right? We knew there was the rumor about underneath the patio.
Now they've checked it out, cross that off the list.
Yeah.
There was an instance, Gibbs, where media caught up to Candace, Monique's mother, asked her about some of the things that have been reported, right? Some of the allegations. She denied everything, but she didn't stop there. She has said that both Angelique and Andrew, her own children, Both suffer from substance abuse. They're unstable and they're unreliable. She's been quoted as saying, whatever happened, it's in God's hands. Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask now that you leave. And Angelique is a really messed up young lady. Like I said, before you start taking and asking me about anything, you need to just, I think, leave the property before I call the police. Angelique is not a reliable source.
No, and about this same time, Chuck gets home and he gets out of his truck and he basically says the exact same thing. Please get off the property. We're done talking to you. Don't come back.
Pretty rough, though, for a mother to say that about her children. Now, let's be fair. They've levied some pretty harsh criticisms against their mother and stepfather. And Angelique and Andrew have denied the claims that they're substance abusers, that they're unstable, that they're unreliable. And I think we'll end the episode talking about Angelique. I think she is a very big part of this story, right? Monique's sister. She's never stopped looking for Monique. She thinks about her every day. She doesn't believe that Monique ever left the house. She has said that she believes that her last day on earth was that rainy day back on June 2nd, 1992. And she's also been quoted as saying, I believe that Chuck Daniels killed my sister Monique, and then I believe he put her in an oil drum and he drove her out to where he took her to and he buried her there.
Yeah, those are some pretty heavy accusations.
No, she's not messing around. She really, she's not mincing words. She's coming out and saying she believes that her stepdad killed Monique. It also sheds a little bit of light on why her mother is so defensive, right? And coming out and saying the things that she said. She's unreliable. She's a messed up young lady. Obviously, Candace does not believe that Chuck killed her daughter. Her and Angelique are not on speaking terms. They don't agree on, I don't think, anything, Gibbs, but especially on what happened to Monique. But we said it up front. This is a mysterious case. And I think it's a hard case to solve for a number of reasons. I think first and foremost, police were delayed by almost 2 years, 18 months?
Oh, yeah.
Give or take?
Yeah, by not reporting.
Yeah, they didn't start an investigation on day one. They started their investigation on day 600 or
whatever.
It was a very long time.
Yeah.
Before they really got heavily involved.
Yeah.
Pretty hard.
Very difficult
to solve a case when that much time has elapsed. And then the mystery around the letters and, what the kids say Chuck did on this day or that day. Again, I think I said it. It really comes down to, number one, who do you believe? But there are some things that they're kind of hard to make sense of.
Yeah.
They really are. But I think that's why it's such a mystery.
Well, it's one of those ones, like I said, it's 2 decades later. One of those ones that's going to be very difficult to ever solve, right? But if she did run away, I would think by this point she would have, sometime along these 2 decades, she would have made contact.
At the very least, I think she would have made contact with her sister.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And say, hey, look, just want to let you know I'm okay. Don't worry about me.
If not some of her other siblings.
Yeah.
I think her and her sister were probably pretty close.
So I think that's where the suspicion really lays pretty heavy.
Yep. Or her mom.
Yeah,
I think her
she
mom
would
or
have.
her sister.
I think she probably would have reached out to somebody.
I do too. But that's it. That is the case of the disappearance of Monique Daniels. We got some voicemails, Gibbs.
Let's listen to them.
All right, let's check them out.
Hey guys, this is Matthew. I'm calling you from Nashville, Tennessee. Longtime listener, well, about 2 years now. I was introduced to the podcast by my great and wonderful friend Jennifer from Freeport, Texas. I can't not mention her. Started in about November of 2017. I began with the Amityville horror episode because I thought, well, that's as good a place as any to start. And I was like, hey, this is good. All right, these guys are pleasant. They know their stuff. They're competent. So I continued listening, and here we are a couple of years later. I've listened to every single episode of TCAT Unsolved. Never miss one. It's the highlight of every Sunday or Monday morning for me. Mike, you are a consummate professional. I mean, man, you just got it together. Gibby. I don't know what else to say, but just keep being Gibby. Man, you're great. You are the best. What did you say? Catch me if you can. Stop chasing me. Jesus, you are brilliant. You are an artist at what you do. Anyway, Team Mike and Team Gibby. I don't want to keep you. I don't want to ramble, but I just look forward to more episodes. You guys are the best. And, hey, stay safe and keep your own time ticking. All right. Good night.
Well, first, I got to say thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
For getting them hooked up. And I love Nashville. I was just there in October. Can't wait to come back. Good old Nashville.
That was a great voicemail, though. Really appreciate it.
Catch me if you can.
Stop chasing me.
That's right.
That was pretty funny. I will give you a lot of credit for that. It was one of your I'm putting that on the Gibby highlight reel.
Soaking this moment in.
Soak it up.
But, you said something nice to me.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, this is Chelsea Biggers. I'm calling from Louisville, Kentucky. Go Wildcats. And yes, Gibby, it is Louisville, Kentucky. I just wanted to reach out to you guys real quick just to say, hey, I just recently started listening to podcasts altogether. And you all were one of the first I listened to. I listened to Clifford Burns and you all had me hooked. So I've listened to some others here and there, but nobody's captured my attention like you all. I'm a true crime junkie and just totally enjoy what you guys are doing. Just recently, a few minutes ago, signed up as a patron. Normally don't do stuff like that, but you all definitely have inspired me to get more involved in what you're doing. And I'm going to get off here, but keep your own time ticking. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Did she say she was from Louisville?
Louisville.
But did she say go Wildcats?
She did say
that's
go
like,
Wildcats.
That's going against the stream, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you're in Louisville, but the state of Kentucky, by and large, Wildcat fans. I mean, there are a lot of Louisville fans, but
yeah.
So this episode comes out Sunday night.
Yep.
The day before that, I'm going to the big Kansas and Kentucky game.
Yeah, you are.
So hopefully I will be in a good mood.
I won't be there.
If they win. No, you won't. I'm not taking you.
I'm not going to be there.
But
you never offer either, by the way.
But we appreciate that, Chelsea.
Hey, guys. It's Lisa from Illinois. And I was listening to the Cindy James episode while I was out cleaning the barn, feeding the horses, and doing some other things around here. I am wondering if she had an accomplice. I wonder if maybe she possibly had someone that would help her with this, and this time it went too far. So that's kind of what has been popping up in my mind. I know of a few people who have had some unfortunate accidents when they were experimenting with different things. It just so happens that there was a second party involved who then beat feet pretty quickly. And so I think that I feel badly for her. I believe that she possibly did have some mental illness or some sort of a mental problem at some point. It's unfortunate that she wasn't taken more seriously with her concerns. But anyway, it's just my thought, my theory. So have a great day and keep your own time ticking.
All right. We always love to hear from Jill. I think it's entirely possible.
It's plausible.
I don't think we didn't touch on it. I don't believe in the episode, but it's entirely possible that she had someone helping her. You know, I think you're in two camps, right? You're in the camp that somebody was doing this to Cindy,
right?
Leaving the packages, the notes, assaulting her, and then ultimately murdering her.
Yep.
Or you're in the camp that she was doing this to herself to get attention, and it went too far.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, if you're in that camp and that's what really happened, then I think it's entirely possible that she had someone helping her.
Sure. Easy to put that together.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Jessica from North Texas. I just wanted to say that I listen to y'all all the time. I'm super excited about your podcast whenever I'm on my way to work and whenever I'm coming back home from work. It really gets me sometimes because I have 2 small children, and it makes me more aware of my surroundings, and I feel a little bit more protective of my children because of all of these crimes that I've listened to from you guys. It's really fascinating, and anyways, I've turned my friends to your podcast. They enjoy it as well, and I just want to bring up something that has happened in my hometown. It's a case of a murder about 16 years ago. Her name is Jennifer Harris. It's an unsolved murder, which I need to listen to your Unsolved podcast. I haven't gotten to that yet. Anyways, it was a horrific story. My mom knew her. It was a really sad case. She's been featured on 48 Hours, and it continues to stay a cold case. Anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks so much. Love you guys. Keep your on time ticking.
All right, great voicemail. We appreciate that. So it may be a very long time before she hears her voicemail.
Yeah.
She's on her way to getting to True Crime All the Time Unsolved.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to have at least probably by the time she gets there 100 episodes.
Yeah, wow.
Or no, what? 98 episodes to get to her voicemail.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is she's learned to keep her head on a swivel.
Yeah, that is a good thing. And we'll check out that Jennifer Harris Unsolved.
Yeah.
Gibbs going to get right on
Jennifer Harris.
Jennifer Harris.
Just wrote it down in my head.
All right, Gibbs, that's it.
All right. Hey, don't forget to follow me at True Crime Gibby Instagram.
On Instagram.
Big things happening.
You'll get all of Gibby's inspirational quotes that he steals from other places.
You think, what's that tall guy that does all the motivational stuff?
Anthony Robbins?
Yeah,
no. Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins.
Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Yeah, he got nothing on me, yo.
No. You're very inspirational.
Yeah, very.
That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking. Hey folks, don't forget to check out our sponsor, BetterHelp. Whatever struggles you're facing, depression, anxiety, trauma, grief, BetterHelp can connect you with a professional counselor in a safe and private online environment. Our listeners get 10% off your first month with the discount code TCAT. Go to betterhelp.com/TCAT and fill out a questionnaire to get matched with a counselor you'll love today.